Welcome everyone to the trailer analysis of Samurai Shodown or Samurai Spirits in Japan. This is your host, Struggler Nabil from KOFworld.com. What we're gonna do here is we're going to go frame by frame and look at the crazy things and the amazing things that this trailer has shown us. This is a Samurai Shodown revival, and it looks like it's a reboot. So let's go ahead and start from the beginning and go little by little, frame by frame. So the first thing that we notice is the game is taking place in 1787. Now, for those of you who grew up with the series or know a little bit about the lore of Samurai Shodown, this is 1 year before the first Samurai Shodown game and 1 year after Samurai Shodown 5, or as it's called in Japan, 0. A little bit of quick history for you guys. Samurai Shodown is one of the most difficult games to follow in terms of story. The reason being is the first game is actually not the first chapter of the story. In fact, the first chapter is Samurai Shodown 5, which was the prequel to Samurai Shodown 1. And right after that comes Samurai Shodown 3 and 4, then 2. So it's a complete mess, and what it looks like, to me at least, is this is some sort of a reboot. Maybe this will finally make sense of the whole story. Now this is your typical Samurai Shodown narrator telling you what's happening in the game, and right here you'll notice a familiar character to those of you who play Samurai Shodown 5 and 5 Special. This is Gao, who is the boss of these two games. Whether he's playable or not, that's another story, but it shows that he's here in this Japanese painting, which is probably going to be part of the intro. So we know a little bit about what the story is happening. This is around the reform that happened around that year in Japan. So this is of course not a history lesson, but it's the game. Usually the series follows loosely what happened in Japan. And there you go. After this amazing painting, you get to see Haomaru in all his glory. He's wearing his traditional costume that we've seen mainly from Samurai Shodown 3. The main difference between what he wore before that is the belt. It was to be black. As you can see, you have your typical big slashes that Samurai Shodown has. So, and usually these takes a lot of damage, and it will be very interesting to see how esports players are gonna react to this kind of massive damage you usually get from these attacks. Right here you see this is some sort, it looks like a remake of Haomaru's famous stage from Samurai Shodown 2. And we have Haomaru here fighting Jubei. As you can see, there's a lot of blood gushing, which is not unusual for Samurai Shodown. Although with this engine that they're using, which is an Unreal Engine 4, it just looks more brutal. And hopefully it stays and they don't tone it down. You have Jubei, Yagyu Jubei, with his two swords. This probably what we're looking at here is Haomaru's winning pose. And here these beautiful scenes that we'll see quite a few of them in the trailer, and what looks like it's either a special or it may be a fatality. Now, for those of you who don't know, Samurai Shodown had always its fair of fatalities, if you want to call them that, in all the titles. Usually at the end of the match, if you hit your opponent with a strong slash or a special move, they'll be cut in two pieces, or they'll be drained all of their blood. But then in Samurai Shodown 5 Special, which is the last 2D Samurai Shodown we've had, I'm not counting 6 because I don't like that game. Anyway, you had actual fatalities, and they were called Zetsume Yogi, and basically you input a command at the end of the match and you actually do a fatality like Mortal Kombat. And maybe this is what we're looking at here. And you see Haomaru doing his special move, or it's actually, it looks like his super from Samurai Shodown 2. You also notice that the color of the stage have changed, whether this is due to the low health of one of the fighters, or maybe it's due to the actual super move. We don't know yet. But this is similar if you played Samurai Shodown 3 and 4, you had this, even 5 actually, when one of the opponents is about to die or does only have less than 10%, I believe, or 5% of their health, the music stops, the background changes. Maybe this is similar. Now we're looking at another special or finisher of Yagyu Jubei, and it looks the same for what Haomaru did, which makes me believe this is the same animation you'll get for all characters once you hit them at the end with a special move or a strong attack. So this is usually in the 2D version is when the character is drained of all his blood, and I think this is how it's gonna look with the new engine. Another returning stage. This is Yagyu Jubei stage from Samurai Shodown 1 and 2, which is the little house in the bamboo forest. You'll also notice something here, that Haomaru is covered in blood. Look at all his clothes. So the clothes will be damaged, maybe. They will definitely be stained with blood. You can see the engine is really beautiful. The graphics are really huge improvements from what we've seen from SNK in the past few years. So you can see the cell shading a little bit, makes it look like a painting. Really, it's just beautiful. This is, I'm not sure what this is, part of the intro, or maybe as you're moving from one stage to another. Now we have Yagyu doing his what appears to be a super. And look at Haomaru, like all his clothes are literally all drained in blood, and same thing goes, I believe this is on his body as well. Could be just the lighting, sorry. But anyway, this is a definitely beautiful game. This is another super that we're looking at. And speaking of supers, Samurai Shodown has always had super moves except for the first game. But you always had one super move per character, and this game looks like it's about to change that. We're going to get more supers per character. Again, we have that final bloody move, and again, it looks the same for all characters. And now we get to see a beautiful, whether it's a finisher or a super move of Nakoruru. And this is her Hawk Mamahaha. And look at that, it's just brutal, man. Like, as she stabs an opponent, and like she's all covered in blood. It's just amazing how they're doing this. It's really beautiful. Again, whether this is a fatality, a super, we don't know. And by the way, speaking of things returning from the past, we have the animals here on the background of what appears to be Nakoruru stage. Previously, this was the Kamui Kotan village, which is her village, and I believe this is the same thing. So it looks like it's a reboot. We have the same characters from the first two games. We have new versions or new look for old stages. This is probably looking more like a reboot, not a prequel, which is fine. And then we have the money shot here. This picture that we see here shows a lot of the characters that we haven't seen in the trailer. And these are pretty much every single character from Samurai Shodown 1, except for one character. So we have Charlotte, we have Nakoruru, we have Tumtum, we have Earthquake, Senryo Kiyoshiro, Haomaru, Hattori Hanzo, Guilford, and from Samurai Shodown 2, we have Kiwagami Genjuro. So this, again, it looks like most of the cast of the first two games are in. And speaking of Earthquake, we get to see him in all his 3D big ass glory, and he just looks awesome. He's about to do a super to Guilford. This is a remake of his move, one of his moves that he had in the second game. Again, beautiful stuff. We also see like we have the weapon clashes back. Now this happened in pretty much most of the Samurai Shodown game. I'm not sure if it's all of them, but I played a lot of the first and second games more than the others. So basically, when two characters pretty much hit the strong attack at the same time with their swords clash, and then you have this little moment where you have to keep pressing all the buttons, and the character or the player who presses faster and more times basically wins that clash moment, and his opponent loses his sword momentarily. He has then to go and pick it up, and I think this is what we're looking at here. This is pretty much it again here with Galford and Haomaru, and it looks nice, man. It looks really beautiful. I can't wait for this game. Now, this is probably from the intro or maybe a story mode that the game will have. We don't know much yet. Probably we'll get more information at the Tokyo Game Show next week. And then we have a beautiful look at Galford and his dog Poppy. Just looking at all the details. And again, Galford uses his look from the first few games and not the ones he had in Samurai Shodown 64. Beautiful stages. The dog looks beautiful. It's just, I can't believe they did this. I mean, it's really beautiful compared to what we've had before in SNK Heroines or even King of Fighters 14, which I love that game, but it just graphically, this is on a different level. Again, we have that finisher. Again, it looks the same for everybody, so I think this is just all characters will have that. We have Galford's command grab, which is the same that Hanzo has as well, and it's normal because they both use the same style. In fact, little quick lore history, Galford was trained by Hanzo's wife. That's why they have the same. I've just Nakuru fighting Haomaru, and she sends her bird Mamahaha flying to him. Classic move from Nakuru. Again, earthquakes, butt attack, nasty. And then we get to see Yagyu's uppercut move, and it's just bloody as hell. But it's, again, the classic moves have been recreated in very nice way. And then we get to see a super here. This is Haomaru's super that he had as a hidden move in the Samurai Shodown 2, and then it became a super move from Samurai Shodown 3, I believe, or 4. Look at that. And it just, this is like ultra moves in Street Fighter, or even super moves or desperation moves in King of Fighters, where King of Fighters 14, where the camera moves around and it just shows you this move in all its glory. Just go ahead and it's amazing. And then we get the Samurai Spirits. The only thing I don't like, to be honest, is the font that they're using for the game. It doesn't scream Samurai Shodown or Spirits to me, but again, very minor nitpick, and I'll take that with all this beautiful art. Beautiful music. We have the Sakura leaves falling, which is a staple of the Samurai Shodown series, and then we have a 2019 release. Stay tuned for more. We'll probably get to have more information next week. Just remember that for your latest news that you want to get for all your SNK, King of Fighters, Samurai Shodown, Metal Slug, and all the SNK great games fix and news, make sure to follow us, subscribe, and to follow and visit www.kofworld.com. That's where you get your daily news. We also have Samurai Shodown anime, we have Samurai Shodown mangas, King of Fighters mangas, and comic books available for free, so you can read it and learn more about the amazing world of Neo Geo.